Welcome to Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. It is Thursday, the 7th of August. Wonderful to have your company this morning. Thanks for being with me. Coming up on the show this morning, petrol, hybrid, EV, doesn't matter. Whatever you're driving, you're set to cop road user charges as the government scraps petrol taxes and what it's calling a once-in-a-generation change. Chris Bishop, the Minister in charge, is here in 5. How where you live matters when it comes to the cost of your weekly grocery shop. The annual grocery report reveals the regions where there's a lack of choice and major supermarkets dominate. A controversial marina in the far north is a step closer to being built thanks to the fast-track legislation. We're there for reaction. Plus, what help's being given to those who find themselves jobless at the moment? And we talk sports with our panel just before 8 o'clock this morning. Stuart Nash, former Labour Party MP, he's on our panel after 8 this morning. My big problem is with the road user charges announcements, and we will talk to Chris Bishop shortly, but my big problem is the cyclists. Where is the road user charge for your cyclists? They use the roads. I mean, sure, they're quite light in terms of weight, but we have road user charges coming for everyone, whether you're in a car, whether you're in a truck, whether you're in an EV. 3.5 million light vehicles will be covered by this. So we're all going to be paying for not only the upkeep of the roads, but also some of the construction as well. Now, we've had some great cycleways built in this country, and the one on the Northwestern Motorway is an example of that, but we've also had some really crap ones, haven't we? That have been very, very expensive. Just ask anyone who lives in New Plymouth right now. They've built Tim Tam concrete blocks down the middle of the road to separate cars and cycle lanes. It's wrecking cars, literally ripping the undercarriage of vehicles apart. So if we had a road user charge for cyclists, Garth Bray's not going to like any of this, by the way, because he rides his bike to work every day. But if we had a road user charge for cyclists, maybe we would end up with better cycleways as a result, because people have a stake, they've got skin in the game. Would love your feedback on this morning. Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. That's Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. A couple of little things to run you through before we get into news with Neva. First is spending. So July, this is according to Worldline, which does the merchants at the, whenever you go swipe your card at the retail, Worldline does this. They put out numbers for July. Consumer spending increased again in July, which is great, but it's basically because prices have gone up. So it's not that we're going out because you think, oh great, we're spending more. This means this is a good sign for the economy. We're spending more on the same amount, basically. The reason that the payments have gone up is because prices have gone up. We'll have more on that later with Garth Bray as well. Just gone 2 minutes after 7. Now let's get to Neva with this morning's headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
No qualms from the Motor Industry Association at the speed of incoming changes to vehicle taxes. The government wants to switch from the current fuel excise duty to a universal electronic road users charge. No date has been set for the full transition. Association spokesperson Alan Say says the new tech will improve efficiency and it's important the government gets this right.
We support the Minister's approach in determining the digital platform first before moving on to implementing a timetable for the change.
The latest rise in unemployment will add to the case for at least one more cut to the OCR. Unemployment's reached a 5-year high of 5.2%. ASB senior economist Mark Smith expects the unemployment rate to reach even higher through the rest of this year. He says a 25 basis point cut in 2 weeks is looking increasingly likely.
If the economy remains slow and the labour force continues to soften, we could well see the official cash rate in the year below 3%.
A lack of competition in our grocery sector sending prices sky high across the country. A Commerce Commission report shows prices are bumping up again this year after appearing to stabilise last year. It highlights that the market is not supportive of new stores and shows major supermarkets continue to wield their power over smaller ones. Consumer NZ CEO John Duffy says there won't be an improvement unless we start to see more competitors enter the market. A push for lawmakers to make access to medicine more of a priority, with signs New Zealanders are worried about it. A new poll reveals 80% of people see modern medicines as important to the health system. Medicines New Zealand Chief Executive Dr. Graham Jarvis says the results are eye-opening, and he says more than half of people believe access is worse here than in countries like the UK, Australia and Canada. Police are renewing appeals to find others involved in a fatal bus stop attack in Auckland's Meadowbank at Easter weekend. American PhD student Kyle Worrell died as a result of a serious assault on St John's Road. A teen's been charged with murder and a 33-year-old woman with being an accessory after the fact. Police say others were in the vehicle involved that night and anyone with information should come forward. The Education Ministry set up a dedicated reporting channel to deal with errors in new maths resources. Those for years 0 to 8 have a total of 18 errors, including incorrect maths solutions, labelling shapes incorrectly, and wrong numbers listed in te reo. The ministry says it's not uncommon for minor errors to be found in the first print run, and it's resolved these and told schools. Its error tracking document's currently 2 pages.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Black Caps captain Tom Latham has again been ruled out of the second cricket test against Zimbabwe with a shoulder injury. The second-tier All Blacks 15 will play the Barbarians in November at the home ground of Brentford Football Club. The NFL is banning the use of smelling salts during games this season, believing the products are not proven to be safe and could mask signs of a concussion. Smelling salts and similar products have become a fixture in the NFL, with many players claiming they can provide a hit of energy or alertness in games.
Very exciting news this morning. There's a space race, a brand new space race kicking off, and I am absolutely here for it. Is there anything more thrilling than watching two countries battle hammer and tong to achieve something that we all dreamed impossible until it happens, like going to the moon for the first time, provided, of course, you actually think we went there, which I do, just for the record. It's like the Science Olympics crossed with geopolitical Hunger Games. This time, it's a bit like last time, but with the US on one side and then Russia and China working together on the other. The goal, to install nuclear reactors on the surface of the moon, some 400,000 kilometres away. The US wants it done by 2030. China, Russia are aiming for the early 2030s. The scientists are hoping that everyone will come together and sing Kumbaya and cooperate like we do with the International Space Station once we're there. But the politicians have other plans. This is about nationalism, defence and territory. Everyone wants to be the first to be there because there are currently no laws or treaties at all around colonising the moon. It's basically first come, first served. And they reckon whoever builds the first reactor for electricity can basically bags an area and build its base close by. So he who gets there first wins. The moon is obviously quite important to us here on Earth. As you know, the seasons, our crops, our ocean, our entire lives are tied to that thing that hangs in the sky. There it is. Look at it. If you look closely at it though, you can see giant craters. So big that you can see them from Earth with the naked eye. So even if these guys do blow something up, what's one more crater on the moon? You know? I'm excited to see a new age space race get underway. The most interesting question, I think, what happens if it's not a country that gets there first, but one of those weirdo billionaires and their space toys from America? Here's weather.
Herald NOW Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. Today sees a return to more unsettled conditions with a front over the Tasman Sea heading east across the South Island. That trough of low pressure will move north over the North Island tomorrow, but for now just 2 heavy rain watches in place for the headwaters of the Canterbury and Otago lakes and rivers starting at 11 this morning. But there will be rain for the lower south. It spreads to all from this afternoon with winds turning westerly tonight for Southland. It's dry in the east here, but showers develop out west and in the north this morning. It turns to rain tonight, some showers heavy too. Quite cloudy for Taranaki with showers tonight, a little cloud around everywhere else with northerlies for Wellington and a high of 14 degrees. Cloudy with a few showers for Bay of Plenty and Taupo with nor'easterlies. It is dry for Hawke's Bay with high cloud, but the chance of showers for you in Gisborne. And a few showers again for the upper north, plenty of cloud too with easterlies for most and nor'easterlies for Northland.
You're watching Herald Now, just gone 9 minutes after 7. We will get to this news out of the States too. Donald Trump has declared that Russia is an extraordinary threat to the US and is hitting those buying Russian goods like Russian oil, including India, with tariffs. He's saying he'll double them to 50%. We'll get to that shortly. Right now, back here, no matter what you drive, petrol, EV, hybrid, it's road user charges for one and all as the government scraps petrol taxes in favour of a system it reckons will be fairer and simpler. But critics say the government's plan to privatise the collection of road user charges means we could end up paying more. Someone's got to make a buck. Chris Bishop's Minister for Transport with us this morning. Minister, good morning.
Good morning.
Will we be paying more, your average punter paying more or less?
It will depend on how we set the ruck rate and on the transition. But what we need to do is make sure that we make this change, because if we don't, we won't be able to pay for the roads and the maintenance of the roads as we go forward. Because what's happening in our vehicle fleet at the moment is you've got the rise of hybrids and the rise of EVs. 10 years ago, there were about 12,000 hybrids on the road. Now there's 350,000 hybrids, and the revenue that goes into the National Land Transport Fund is gradually being eroded because fewer and fewer people are paying petrol tax, obviously, and that's what helps fund the fund. And so we need to move to a system that's fairer, which is basically you pay for what you use of the roads, so you pay in terms of distance and you pay in terms of weight. That's the ruck system, and it will be electronic, which of course makes it much easier to administer.
For your average, what would you like for your average commuter in New Zealand? Would you like them to be paying more or less? Do you have any, surely you've got some projections on what the average commuter would face?
Well, it really depends. It depends on the car, it depends on the weight of the car, it depends on how much people drive, it depends on the fuel efficiency of people.
Toyota Corolla.
Obviously.
Auckland commuter, Toyota Corolla. Your classic.
Yeah, it depends. Depends how old the car is, but the basic thing would be for them is. Yeah, the short answer is it will depend. It will
Petrol.
depend on how much you drive. It's the most important point.
Every day, to work.
Yeah, so at the moment, people who are driving older, more fuel inefficient cars are paying more, and people who are driving hybrids are paying relatively less because of the petrol component. That would be my point.
What about the weight?
Those people are being cross-subsidised by people who are driving more fuel inefficient vehicles, and some people would say that's not fair.
Yeah. So what about the weight thing? Because EVs are way more heavier than your traditional combustion engines, right? Does that mean that, all things being equal, the weight would mean the EV for the same distance would be paying more?
Yeah, so that's partly why there's a lot of complexity to work through, and we haven't set the rates yet. This is a few years away, so I just want to hasten to reassure people that this is not something that's happening tomorrow or next week or even next year. This is kind of 2027, 2028, so we're at least a couple of years away from doing this, and as part of that, we'll be working out the distance and the weight component and exactly how much people will pay depending on what they've got, obviously. And it's important to get that right, because you could set a system where you have a really graduated series of weight classes. You could break it down into 20 different weight classes. Now, obviously, that comes with administration and makes it complicated. But obviously, that would, arguably, that would be a fairer thing to do. But there's a trade-off between simplicity and administration, and so we've just got to work our way through that, and that's what we'll be doing
Fair
over
enough.
the next 2 or 3 years.
What about how will you actually know, because it's all going to be electronic, how will you know how far I've travelled?
So there's a couple of ways to do that. Firstly, you could put a little transponder in the car, and other countries and jurisdictions have had this for ages. So you just put a little thing on your dashboard, and it connects into an app, and it works out how much you've driven. That's how you pay for your tolls, for example.
Does it tell you how?
In Sydney, when you go through a toll.
Yeah. Does it tell you where you've been as well, or just how many kilometres you've done?
That's all on the technology. It can do, but there's not actually any particular need to do that. If you're just going to do it on a distance base, then you don't need to work out exactly where you've been and things like that. So you don't have to do that. And there would be privacy concerns about tracking where people are and things like that, which I fully understand. But when you go through a toll road, for example, it just hits the gantry or it hits the the part of the toll road, gives you a little beep, and then it charges you. And so it works out what tolls you're going through, potentially as we move towards time of use pricing, which is the so-called congestion charge. It could link into that as well. So we're actually miles behind the rest of the world, to be honest. Other countries have had technology in their cars like this for ages. And then the other way is modern cars actually have this built into the car.
Yeah.
So the new cars entering we just don't turn it on in New Zealand because we don't have a system where we need to, because you pay through petrol tax. But modern cars actually have this built into the car, and so there's a way of linking that into some sort of payment system. Overall, it'll be once we've rolled it out, it'll be like electricity. You'll drive, and at the end of the month, you'll get a bill, and it will say you drove 1,000 kilometres this month times X amount. And it might be you pay a couple of tolls, and that's on your bill, and you can see that. And it might be you paid a congestion charge, and that'll be on your bill, and then you'll just pay it.
Okay. And there'll be because the PSA has come out and said, it's because you're going to have private companies doing this, they will need to make a profit. That's a recipe for higher costs for drivers. What do you say to that?
Well, the noted transport experts at the PSA, I think. I'm not really going to be taking advice from them. I don't think.
No, but it's the principle of it, Minister.
Well, there's two ways to do it. One is you could run a government scheme, which would be arguably pretty inefficient because it would end up being a government monopoly. Or you could just have government set the standards, set the rules, and then let technology providers compete. Based on the different payment systems that are out there. That's our preferred approach is to go out to the market and see what's out there. We may end up with a whole range of different competing payment providers which will compete on ease of payment and simplicity of using the system. They may add other features to it. So that's our preferred approach.
All right.
And we're going to go to the market and talk to them about it.
Petrol should get a lot cheaper, eh? The nominal price, I mean.
Petrol tax will be abolished. I really want to stress that. So this is not an add-on. It's not like you pay your petrol tax at the pump and then you pay your ruck. We are abolishing petrol tax.
Yeah.
So if you've got a petrol car, when you fill your car up, you will pay for the cost of the petrol and your sausage roll that you buy at the service station and all that. That's all fine. But then you pay for your ruck separately.
Yeah. What's the petrol tax at the moment? Do you know what percentage are we paying?
About 70 cents a litre.
Wow. Okay, so it'll be considerably cheaper, but then you'll get a bill at the end of the month in the mail. Minister, thanks very much for coming.
But you won't have to pay up front. So
yes.
It'll be from a cash flow point of view for a lot of households. It'll actually be quite good because you won't have to pay $150 when you fill your car up.
Chris Bishop, appreciate your time this morning. Minister of Transport, it is 16 minutes after 7. We would love your thoughts on this morning. Flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. That's ryan@nzherald.co.nz. A friend of mine who's got a Tesla, I know, I consider them making them not my friend anymore. They said that it's very heavy to drive an electric vehicle because they've got the massive batteries in them. Apparently they are 20 to 30% heavier than your traditional combustion engine. Ryan@nzherald.co.nz is the email address this morning, just gone 17 minutes after 7. A new grocery report by the Commerce Commission has highlighted continual problems with our grocery sector, including a lack of choice for consumers in smaller towns and rural areas where some grocery stores have a local monopoly. There's also continued dominance of major players in the areas like Taranaki, Waikato, Otago and the West Coast on the top of the South Island as well. And the prices we're paying in New Zealand are still amongst the highest in the developed world. Sue Chetwin is a Grocery Action Group Chair with me this morning. Sue, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. Now, I was interested to read this report that we are only 3%, this is for 2023, we're only 3% more expensive than the OECD average for groceries. Is that bad?
Look, I think it is because that puts us in the top 5 most expensive in the OECD. And also, you'll have noted from the report that while prices slowed a bit, that this year they have started to rise again. So we are seeing big increases at the supermarkets throughout 2025. I think the important message from this report is that despite all of the new tools that the Commerce Commission have been given over a period of sort of 4 or 5 years since their first market study, nothing has really changed for Kiwi shoppers. There's still very unhealthy competition, or none. We have a duopoly. We're still paying very high prices. Suppliers are still, small to medium-sized suppliers are also being treated pretty poorly and having to pay quite significant rebates. And we don't have choice. So it's not a very good scene for the Kiwi shopper in terms of food and groceries.
But despite all of what you have just said, we are still only 3% more expensive than the OECD average, and we have a 15% GST whacked on top of every item in that supermarket.
So we are more expensive than, say, the UK and Australia. Now, admittedly, they have exceptions for food, but the Commerce Commission itself has said that the supermarkets in New Zealand are still making more profits than they should if there was proper competition. 3% more expensive might not sound like much to you, but if you're a Kiwi shopper, and we know that there is a cost of living crisis in New Zealand and that shoppers are doing it tough. So
no, I get that.
We are more expensive.
Yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is 3%, and as you know, the GST, we haven't even got to that, but is 3% enough to justify breaking up businesses, making them sell parts of themselves?
Absolutely, because as I've said, the report, the Commerce Commission has said we are still in the top 5 in the OECD. We don't have much competition. In other countries where there is competition, there is better pricing for consumers. So, it may just be 3% ahead, but it is very high compared with other countries.
Sue, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being with me. Sue Chetwin, Grocery Action Group Chair, with us 21 minutes after 7 now. Up next, what's happening at the front line with our rising unemployment rates? We'll have a look at that. Plus, apparently, if birds don't get a good sleep the night before, they sound terrible singing to their friends the next morning. Someone has actually studied this. We'll talk to them too.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
The 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience, just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
We've done few subdivisions with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Welcome back. It is 23 minutes after 7 on your Thursday morning. Great to have your company. Get in touch with us, Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. You would have seen the unemployment numbers from yesterday, 5.2%, which is less than the 5.3 some were expecting, but more than the 5.1 from the previous quarter. So, what support is being provided to families in need at a time like this? Paul Barber's with us, Salvation Army Principal Social Policy Analyst. Paul, good morning.
Yeah, kia ora, good morning.
Yeah, good to have you on the show. What are you seeing at your on the coalface? Are you seeing unemployed people turning up needing support?
Yes, that's we're basically seeing the impacts that are over the past 2 years of the pressures and stresses of steadily rising unemployment, and it affects groups differently, and there are some groups more impacted more than others. And certainly, you're losing a job means being on having to seek welfare support, and that is generally means a big cut in income for people, and that's the moment when they are needing to turn to assistance from our welfare centres for things like assistance with food, help with housing issues, or with financial mentoring and advice.
Paul, what are you seeing? What are your numbers saying? What increase? What percentage increase, for example, have you seen in the last year or 6 months?
Well, if you look at we're coming off really tough times already, and we're not seeing any decrease in need. It hasn't. If I look at our figures overall, there's not a huge increase in, for instance, the need for food assistance, but that also reflects the fact that our services themselves are running pretty much at their capacity and have been for some time. And again, that comes back to that point that there's a long period here where things have been really tough for people, and there doesn't seem to be much prospect of that improving in the short term.
This is why economic growth is so important for this country, right?
Yeah, it has to be an economic growth that actually reaches the people who are most impacted. If you look at what's happening in our communities, for instance, in the unemployment figures certainly show that it is Pacific workers and young workers who are most impacted. The increase in unemployment over the past year of nearly 15,000, Pacific unemployment increased by 8,000. So yet they only make up about 10% of the total workforce. So you see that Pacific workers are being really impacted. And similarly, it's young people who make up a big proportion of those who are unemployed. And that group, about 63,000 are under 25.
Yeah,
and it's that group that's also most impacted. And it's access to support that can help you get through this time is really important. What the welfare system can do for people while they're looking for work. It's important that people aren't thrown into deeper poverty, deeper hardship, deeper despair than you already face when you lose employment.
Yeah, looking forward to that growth coming back. Appreciate your time, Paul. Paul Barber, Salvation Army Principal Social Policy Analyst, with us this morning on the unemployment numbers from yesterday. 26 minutes after 7 now. We all know how a bad night's sleep can affect you the next morning. You're grumpy, you're slow, it's hard to get off the couch. Well, a new study shows that we're not alone. Research from the University of Auckland has found birds sing simpler songs and less frequently after a night of disturbed sleep. Dr. Julie Gaviragi-Musoy is with us, lead researcher at the University of Auckland. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the program. Why did you decide to do this research on birds?
Birds are a funny thing. So they are very similar to humans in many ways. People don't expect that. But birds, just like humans, they learn their vocalizations very similar to us. They have this like babbling stage when they're young, and then they learn their vocalization and they are able to sing when they're adults. So, but also they have their sleep is very similar to ours as well. They have the different types of sleep, like REM sleep and non-REM sleep. So it made sense that if sleep is important for us and how we communicate the day after, that it would be important for them as well.
How do you know what they're saying, though? I mean, you say they're communicating, it's more simple, the language that they're using. How do you know?
Yeah, so we record their vocalizations and we record both their songs and their calls, and then we measure them. We have this software that we're able to use and measure exactly those minute details that might be happening around them. So we were able to measure this on Common Minus, and what we did was recording their songs, measuring them, and then comparing before and after a bad night of sleep. And then we found that they were simpler and also fewer songs after a bad night of sleep.
What do you know what they're singing about?
Unfortunately not. No, we're not there yet. But we do know that their songs are very important for multiple things. So they use their songs to find mates or protect a territory. They also can communicate about food and danger around. But we're still not too sure exactly what they're saying in each song.
What's keeping them awake at night, Julie? Surely they're not out on the piss.
Well, we don't know that, maybe, but what we do know is that light pollution and noise pollution, so fireworks, but also noisy cars or lots of light outside, that's also all kind of keep them awake. And there are studies previously that show that not only they are sleeping less, but their sleep is lighter after the light pollution and noise pollution.
This has obviously cost money to do this research, Julie, and there's a lot of talk at the moment about science funding being thrown down an empty, there's an empty pit of money that we just keep adding to. What can we do with this information?
So this is very important so we understand a little bit more how we are affecting our birds. Birds are super important for nature because they are great pollinators, but they also are able to kind of protect the things around, and they are part of this environment that we all live in. So being able to protect them and understand how we are affecting them is super important for then later on applying if we know that light and noise are affecting their song and then their sleep, and later on if they are not being able to breed as well or find mates and survive, then we're able to do something about it.
Appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being on the program. We'll be listening out for the next time we hear the birds singing in the morning, just how upbeat they are. That's Dr. Julie. That's Dr. Julie Gavaraji Musoy, who's on the program, lead researcher for University of Auckland study, looking at the birds and how happy they are, how happy they sound when they're singing in the morning. Just gone 7:30 now. Let's get to Neva with the morning's headlines.
Herald NOW News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
No qualms from the Motor Industry Association at the speed of incoming changes to vehicle taxes. The government wants to switch from the current fuel excise duty to a universal electronic road users charge. No date has been set for the full transition. Association spokesperson Alan Say says the new tech will improve efficiency and it's important the government gets this right.
We support the Minister's approach in determining the digital platform first before moving on to implementing a timetable for the change.
The latest rise in unemployment will add to the case for at least one more cut to the OCR. Unemployment's reached a 5-year high of 5.2%. ASB senior economist Mark Smith expects the unemployment rate to reach even higher through the rest of this year. He says a 25 basis point cut in 2 weeks is looking increasingly likely.
If the economy remains slow and the labour force continues to soften, we could well see the official cash rate in the year below 3%.
A lack of competition in our grocery sector sending prices sky high across the country. A Commerce Commission report shows prices are bumping up again this year after appearing to stabilise last year. It highlights that the market is not supportive of new stores and shows major supermarkets continue to wield their power over smaller ones. Consumer NZ CEO John Duffy says there won't be an improvement unless we start to see more competitors enter the market. A push for lawmakers to make access to medicine more of a priority, with signs New Zealanders are worried about it. A new poll reveals 80% of people see modern medicines as important to the health system. Medicine's New Zealand Chief Executive, Dr. Graham Jarvis, says the results are eye-opening, and he says more than half of people believe access is worse here than in countries like the UK, Australia and Canada. Police are renewing appeals to find others involved in a fatal bus stop attack in Auckland's Meadowbank at Easter weekend. American PhD student Kyle Worrell died as a result of a serious assault on St John's Road. A teen's been charged with murder and a 33-year-old woman with being an accessory after the fact. Police say others were in the vehicle involved that night and anyone with information should come forward. The Education Ministry set up a dedicated reporting channel to deal with errors in new maths resources. Those for years 0 to 8 have a total of 18 errors, including incorrect maths solutions, labelling shapes incorrectly, and wrong numbers listed in te reo. The ministry says it's not uncommon for minor errors to be found in the first print run, and it's resolved these and told schools. Its error tracking documents currently 2 pages.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Black Caps captain Tom Latham has again been ruled out of the second cricket test against Zimbabwe with a shoulder injury. The second-tier All Blacks 15 will play the Barbarians in November at the home ground of Brentford Football Club. The NFL is banning the use of smelling salts during games this season, believing the products are not proven to be safe and could mask signs of a concussion. Smelling salts and similar products have become a fixture in the NFL, with many players claiming they can provide a hit of energy or alertness in games.
You're watching Herald Now. Great to have your company. 26 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Garth Bray with Business is here in just a few seconds. He's miffed because I've been talking about the cyclists again this morning. Look, he's brought his helmet in. What a loser. It's raining out there, Garth says, as he was riding in this morning. But I think he should pay road user charges on his bike. I pay them in my car. Why shouldn't he pay them on his bike? Anyway, Garth's with us soon for business. Speaking of, BNZ has raised, you'll be pleased to know this morning, farmers, more good news for you. BNZ's increased its seasonal milk price forecast from $9.50 per kilogram of milk solids to $10.25 per milligram of milk solids. Now, that is in the upper end of the range, you'd have to say, of all of the analysts that are forecasting at the moment. But $10.25, you can't scoff at that, can you? That's after yesterday we brought you the global dairy trade numbers. They were up. Whole milk powder up above 2%. The general auction up above 0.7%, 25 to 8.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. Today sees a return to more unsettled conditions with a front over the Tasman Sea heading east across the South Island. That trough of low pressure will move north over the North Island tomorrow, but for now just 2 heavy rain watches in place for the headwaters of the Canterbury and Otago lakes and rivers starting at 11 this morning. But there will be rain for the lower south. It spreads to all from this afternoon with winds turning westerly tonight for Southland. It's dry in the east here, but showers develop out west and in the north this morning. It turns to rain tonight, some showers heavy too. Quite cloudy for Taranaki with showers tonight, a little cloud around everywhere else with northerlies for Wellington and a high of 14 degrees. Cloudy with a few showers for Bay of Plenty and Taupo with nor'easterlies. It is dry for Hawke's Bay with high cloud, but the chance of showers for you in Gisborne. And a few showers again for the upper north, plenty of cloud too with easterlies for most and nor'easterlies for Northland.
Time now to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. India is Donald Trump's latest target. He's doubled tariffs on their exports. Well, he's announced he's going to do that shortly. For that and much more, Garth Bray, Business Desk. Good morning, Garth.
Morning, Ryan.
Now, we'll get to your wet helmet in a second. But let's start with Trump. He's 25% already on India, plus 25 would take you to 50.
And that's from August 27, unless they announce that they will no longer buy their energy, their oil from Russia. And that's probably what this is really about. We're heading towards a weekend. You've had Witkoff over there, meeting with Putin. And it's all about Russia at the moment. So this is part of that game. But it's really fired people up. It's united a lot of people we're hearing around sort of Modi in India at the moment. And it's interesting for New Zealand because we are trying to strike a bilateral free trade agreement with India at the moment. Been a bit quiet on that front since May when they've been bouncing around. I think they signed about 30 odd little agreements while Luxon was over there. But we have had some defence cooperation up there. Even this week, we've had quite a senior Ministry of Defence official up there shaking hands with ministers, reminding them that they've just successfully seized about $1 billion worth of heroin out of the Gulf of Arabia with New Zealand support and Indian officers on board, Te Kaha and things like that. So, hey, remember us, we're your friends, we want to trade with you. That guy over there wants to smash you with extra tariffs at the end of the month. What do you want to do?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Indians have come out and said, well, you're the ones, as in America, that told us to buy Russian gas at the start of the war.
Yeah, right.
So they're like, well, you know,
and
we did what you said and now you're going to punish us for
and
it.
they've got 1.4 billion people that need to be kept warm and businesses that need to be
very dependent on oil, the Indian economy too, eh?
Yeah.
Now, we keep hearing about the supermarket duopoly. We've spoken to Sue Chetwin about this morning. Another report from the ComCom. Is one doing better than the other in the duopoly?
Interesting, yeah. Gregor Thompson had a good look at that and found actually below the radar of sort of 82% domination by these two big brands, that actually Woolworths has been losing market share. Looks like Foodies is holding, so Pack and Save is doing better. I think the numbers were something like 27% increase for, dropped to 27% market share for Woolworths over 5 years to 2024, and a rise to 25% share for Pack and Save. And there's a wee chart I'd just like to show you as well. That's the profit margins, and that big bold number you can see there that's dropped right through the floor, that is Woolworths. So at the start of the period, 2019, all of our three major retailers were doing, the three main ones, Foodstuffs North Island, South Island, were doing well. Woolworths doing well. Woolworths is now doing poorer than some of the international comparatives like your Walmarts, your Krugers, all those kinds of people.
Interesting. What's behind that?
Labour costs. They've announced that they've had quite a stiff wage bill through that period, and that really hit them. Although in the last quarter, that's outside of those figures, they said that their sales had recovered and lifted. I think what were we up about 4%. And I mean, you know, we've seen the wage and labour figures in the last sort of 24 hours as well. Wage inflation is actually below CPI, price inflation at the moment, so maybe those numbers will turn around.
Yeah. Finally, calls for a capital gains tax from quite an unexpected corner.
Yeah, ANZ Bank senior or chief economist, not from here, from Australia, at the Building Nations conference down in Wellington, basically saying, look, I know you guys don't have a capital gains tax. It's something you should look at really seriously. Intergenerational distribution of where, you know, who can get into the housing market and can't is a huge issue in Australia and New Zealand. He said, you guys have got to start looking at this seriously.
Oh, go back to Australia.
This is the bank that has 30% of our mortgages.
Yeah.
So interesting call, and you had, Antonio Watson, the CEO here, making a similar kind of a call for CGT last year. So quite an interesting play.
Well, every time a banker tells me we should have a capital gains tax, I'm going to tell them we should have a profit windfall tax on their banking profits. That annoys me. Anyway,
rather than a windfall tax on cyclists, right?
Yes. Now this is the most important part of today. So do you bike on cycleways or on the road?
Mostly cycleways if they're available because they're safer, and I don't want to wind up in hospital.
Which is fair. But if we could would you pay a road user charge for riding your bike if that money was ring-fenced solely for cycleway construction?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't get a choice, would you? Because if there's a charge, they're going to tax you, and that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to think. You heard Chris Bishop talking about weight. You know, the weight of a cycle and people using a cycle lane, that's not going to do much damage to it, really. So they're not going to be hammered as hard as people hooning down there in their SUVs.
Yeah, but they're still bloody expensive to build, aren't they?
3,000 of them around, 3,000 k's of them around the country, and 83,000 k's of roads. See, I think probably you heard him saying that they're a bit wary about pricing it and working out 20 different categories of weight.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Because it costs. So it would probably cost you more money to run around clipping little things on cyclists. Mind you, heaps of them are on the old Strava, tracking their performance and posting that. So maybe it wouldn't be that hard to actually
It would probably be quite easy, actually, now that you mentioned Strava. And we could actually, while we're at it, we could get the runners and the joggers and the walkers too.
People on the scooters first, I reckon. Get them.
Oh, yes.
Get them.
Good point. Garth Bray, Business Desk. Thanks, Garth. We talk business every day thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. It's now 18 to 8. A controversial proposal for a new marina near Russell in the Bay of Islands. We've been covering this for the past couple of weeks. Moving ahead to the next stage as part of the fast-track legislation. The decision to push ahead with the Waipiro Bay Marina has angered locals and campaigners. Jay Howells, a local resident, joins us now. Jay, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Hey,
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to have you. What's the feeling? Is the feeling that now it's kind of the door's open to the fast track, it's probably going to end up happening and quickly?
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, locally, we're quite upset and surprised and shocked by this decision. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're looking to really get our word out as to why that is. I mean, what I focus on, my background is in finance and economics, and so I focus on the math and the numbers. Everybody's very concerned right now about jobs and the economy, and that's the primary justification for fast track and Chris Bishop approving referring this into the process. So let's talk jobs. The primary factor that Chris Bishop cites for referring this is that it will create approximately 140 jobs over the next 30 years or so annually. That number is flat out wrong. There's a math error in it. It's really quite embarrassing for them. The actual number of jobs is only about 40 or 50 jobs annually. What they did is they took the 90 jobs that are estimated to be in place for the construction of the marina over the next couple of years, and then they added that to the approximately 50 long-term jobs, came up with a number of 140. And then Chris Bishop, in the analysis that supports his decision, they said that 140 jobs is the number of jobs over the next 30 years or so, which is adding apples and oranges. It just doesn't make any sense.
I saw that number, the way that they had phrased that. I mean, they are technically not wrong, but it is quite a stretch. They're saying...
well, the 140 is technically wrong. It's just a math error. It's just a flat out math there, because they're portraying that as the long-term number of jobs that this project is going to create.
Well, to be fair, they say 150, Jay, 150 full-time jobs in construction, operations and boat maintenance over a 30-year period. So, yeah, as you point out, the construction ones will be front-loaded at the start of that, and then you've only got about 40-odd per year ongoing.
Yeah, so it's only 40-odd jobs over the 30-year period. The construction jobs are just a short-term thing. So that's highly misleading. So if Chris Bishop thinks that's why this is so significant, so then let's talk about the GDP, the gross domestic product numbers. Up here in the far north, we have about 3.4 billion annually of GDP, and it's over 10 billion for Northland as a whole. So this project is expected to generate about $10 to $12 million annually on a long-term basis of GDP. That 10 to 12 million is not significant to the billions of dollars of GDP up here in Northland. But to say this marina is significant is just crazy.
It adds to it, though, doesn't it? And I think this is what people from the down country will be looking at Northland saying, you know, we're always hearing the bad stories. We're always hearing that they've families in poverty, roads aren't keeping up to standard, potholes everywhere, infrastructure problems, poor cousin of the north. Here's an opportunity to put some money on the table, and you're turning your noses up.
Yeah, well, if you talk to local hapu that live in this area, and they're the candidates for jobs, when you talk directly to them, they don't want these jobs. They say, we don't need them. We're doing quite fine as it is locally here. So the jobs really aren't a local consideration for the people that live in this region. When you look at the bad roads you cited, well, this marina isn't, the people who purchase these berths aren't going to be paying rates on the berths. So there's going to be a lot of additional traffic on the roads and no extra money to council to pay for the maintenance of those roads. So really this marina benefits the wealthy. So people like one of the developers, the primary developer, Craig Heatley, I mean, what's significant is that he contributed $100,000 to National to help get National elected. And, that's really the significant thing about this. Also, the developers will get in excess of $50 million of profit for this project.
Hey, appreciate your time this morning. Jay, thanks for your opinion. Jay Howell, local residents from the Bay of Islands, talking about the marina up at Waipiro Bay that we've been discussing for the last couple of weeks. It is on the list. Well, it's been referred by the Minister, the proposal progressed to the next stage of fast track. The approval was given on Monday. It's 12 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Coming up, we're talking sports. What's behind a lack of local body council candidates in Rotorua?
Vacant City Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university. My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GGs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
After 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Kaiwaka's been in the game for 200 seasons. 50 years of facing up to the elements, getting the job done and coming back for more. And that's guaranteed for a lifetime. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We can also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
Welcome back. We'll get to our sports boys in a second. 10 to 8. Rotorua Lakes Community Board has been forced into a by-election due to a lack of candidates. Current members have cited rising abuse, claiming this may be deterring future candidates from getting in the race. Matthew Nash is local democracy reporter with us this morning. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Ryan, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. So what's the problem here? Is this for, because we've obviously got a local body election coming up, have you not got enough candidates for that one, which means you already know you're going to have a by-election after it?
Essentially, yeah. So this is for one of the community boards which deals with the rural lakes population here in Rotorua. They now have 4 seats on that board, but only 3 nominees came forward.
4 seats, 3 nominees. So how soon after this election can they have the by-election?
I think that the plan is for the candidacy to open around November, with either, depending on how many people come up for that, then something will be established by December, or if there is a vote, I think March is probably the most likely time we'll have a 4th member of that board.
Have you considered running, or will you be too busy surfing?
That's more decorative.
Hey, what is the problem? Why aren't you getting the candidates in Rotorua that you need?
Well, I think for this particular community board, the chairman, when I spoke to him, discussed that there's been a bit of a profile recently around online abuse, especially for women. Our mayor herself, Tanya Tapsell, has spoken at length about this in the media. She's had some pretty sort of outrageous and quite threatening messages, and the chairman of this specific board seems to think that may have put some people off. And also the remuneration for this board is not the same as if you were on one of the general ward seats. And that is possibly another reason why it's potentially deterred people from putting their hands up.
What's it pay, Matthew?
I think for a member, it's just over $9,000 a year. So I think they have like 1 meeting a month, and so it's a little less commitment than the general ward seats, but it still makes you a prominent member of your community. So there is that level of profile that comes with it still, that's potentially not compensated for, and potentially, especially if they're going to be suffering from online abuse. The fear from some members on the board is that they're potentially not being compensated in terms of that sort of public profile that comes with.
Yeah, $9,000 for a public flogging doesn't sound like a great deal, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Matthew, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks, mate. Matthew Nash, local democracy reporter in Rotorua. It is 7 minutes away from 8 o'clock, and you're watching Herald Now. Let's get to our sports panel this morning. Cameron McMillan is here, Deputy Head of Sport for NZME, and Chris Reeve, Senior Sports Journalist. Good morning, lads.
Good morning.
Good to see you both.
Likewise.
The All Blacks, what are the big surprises in the squad rugby championship, Chris?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is seeing Simon Parker called in to the loose forwards in the main squads. There were, I think, in total 42 players named, with 6 of those being injury covers, and Simon Parker was in the initial 36, which, you know, if you talk to a Chiefs fan, they've been sort of singing his praises for the last few years. He's been one of those guys who's sort of pushed his case, but then injuries have sort of set him back a few years. He's put a good season together now, and now he gets an opportunity to sort of make one of those sort of wider loose forward spots his own, which, you know, there's been a little bit of rotation there, so another guy gets a crack.
Great.
Razor calls him intimidating, which is kind of what the All Blacks have been looking for. A number 6 who can come in and to smash players. That's what you want. He's a big guy, and again, in Argentina, he could get a chance to do that. Just hit some guys and make an impact. That's what you want to do, right?
And smash them.
Exactly. Get in there, make a mark, go home. Yeah.
Do you think that's rugby, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and Razor. The thing about the squad is like Dalton Papali's been dropped, and Razor's made some big calls, and he didn't really do that last year in his first year. And he said to the press he had to make some hard phone calls. And one of them was probably to Dalton Papali and Christian Leo-Willie, who had pretty good performance in France, against France. But yeah, this new guy, hopefully he can go in there and make a big impression.
Excellent, smash him. How do the Warriors can the Warriors turn things around? I mean, we talk about this every week. It's getting worse and worse. It feels like we're back in the danger zone of, what do you think?
There's potential. There's potential. They do get some players back this week. Yeah, or
yes,
ever the optimist.
The injured players, so they're coming back.
Chanel Harris-Tavita comes back this week. He was named at 5'8", so that's a positive sign to see him named in the initial starting lineup. James Fisher-Harris has been named in the extended bench. Dimitrik Vaimonga, he's named on the bench as well. So a few troops come back, but they got a tough trip away to the Bulldogs, so the best defensive team in the competition. Makes life pretty tricky this week.
I'll give them a stat though for Warriors fans. The Warriors are 5-0, unbeaten in New South Wales this season. So this game has been played in Sydney. So there you go. They're unbeaten in New South Wales. So yeah, they'll win this one.
Okay, great. Yeah. Now, what else are we talking about this morning? The golf. On the back of 2 wins for the PGA Tour this year, Ryan Fox essentially achieved everything that he set out to do.
Yeah, he's in the FedEx playoffs. So this is the first tournament this week. So the top 70 from the PGA Tour this year, this is the first tournament. And then it gets cut off to 50 and then the top 30. So he's hovering around about 32 at the moment. So good performance this week, and then he could play in the Tour Championship at the end in a couple of weeks. And we're talking big money, like the winner for this week gets $6 million. The winner next week gets $6 million. And then if he gets into that final tournament, that's 40 million New Zealand. So a good couple of weeks. He could walk home with, north of 50 million New Zealand if he hits form again. And after he's had 2 wins this year, so he should have confidence,
It must cost them a lot to do what to travel around and win. And if you can go ages without winning anything.
You can, and if you go through a few weeks of not making a cut, then you're not getting paid either.
Yeah,
that makes life a little bit trickier.
Who's the guy? Is it Scheffler?
Scotty.
Yeah, he was not complaining, but saying he wasn't sure whether he enjoyed doing it or not. And I looked at how much he got paid. He was paid like $98 million in the last year.
He's very good at golf. Yeah. He is very good at golf.
Why is
it's almost too easy.
Why is he so miserable? He's great at his job. He's paid a butt ton of money.
Yeah, it's funny. After he said that, he came out, won the tournament, and I think maybe that was taken a little bit out of context. He did sort of say in his post-tournament speech that might have been the case.
It was a bit of a beat-up.
It's always nice to win a tournament, but then at the end of the day, you go back home to your family and
did we do the
on.
dirty on him? The media did the dirty on him. Said he was complaining when actually he's just fine. All right, the Black Caps, good win in the first test against Zimbabwe, which we talked about the other day. How much can we read into that result? What are we looking at going?
Well, so the second test starts tonight again in Bulawayo. player. And again, injuries, just like the All Blacks, just like the Warriors, the Black Caps have got injuries. Tom Latham, the captain, he's been ruled out again, so he's not going to play in this test. Nathan Smith, all-rounder, he's out. Will O'Rourke, the fast bowler, he's out. It was only a 3-day test for the first test, and Will O'Rourke didn't survive, sore back. If it was a 5-day test, it may be interesting, but a 3-day, he only couldn't even last 3 days, so he's out. So we're going to see some debutants. Jacob Duffy, the fast bowler, will come in. And then there's a couple of others that could come in, Zach Folkes or Matthew Fisher, 2 fast bowlers as well. One of them maybe plays. So we could see some fresh faces tonight.
Nice. The injury thing, are teams getting more cautious with players, just in every sort of sporting arena? Are players getting a bit softer? Are the teams getting more protective? As soon as you get a tiny little niggle, are they trying to take you off and repair and recoup you before it gets worse? So do you think that's a trend that's happening?
I think it probably depends on where in the season you are or what the competition you're going into is. Like, this one is a good opportunity for the Black Caps to, I guess, rotate some of those guys. And the fast bowler injury, the sore back is a classic fast bowler injury, and you've seen guys miss a lot of time because of that. So it's not one you want to take very lightly. So if you do have someone pull up and say, hey, I'm probably not going to be 100% for this one, you'd better to put them on ice and not risk further damage for what comes down the track.
Yeah, true. Hey, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming on as always. It's Chris Reeve, senior sports journalist, and Cameron McMillan, deputy head of sport for NZME. It is coming up to 8 o'clock. After 8 o'clock, we're going to talk to Andrew Costa, former police commissioner. You will know his face, you will know his name from COVID. He may or may not have a beard, I'm just being told. Maybe he's shaved it. Anyway, he's now in charge of social investment. Now, this was the Bill English's baby that Nicola Willis has taken up the mantle of. This is where you identify kids who are most at risk of falling through the cracks. So it's things like, have you got a parent in jail? Have you been kicked out of school before you're 17? Is one of your parents on a benefit? There's a bunch of risk factors. And the idea is that you identify these young people, these kids, and you put all of the support around them while they're young, so that we don't end up with they themselves being in prison later on. This is what the Andrew Costa's now doing, in charge of. They've got a plan, apparently, for how they're going to do that. So we're going to ask him that plan after 8. First Test Never. G'day, good morning. It is Thursday, the 7th of August. Coming up on the show this hour, better outcomes for kids whose parents are in jail, are in social services care, or are being suspended from school. This is the aim of the Social Investment Fund. Andrew Costa with us shortly. How much would you be prepared to pay in road users charges to get our roads in a better state? Our panel weighs in, including Stuart Nash, former Labour Minister, and you may know him as Billy from Stranger Things. Now, this Kiwi actor starring in a new psychological drama set in New Zealand, and the director is along for the ride this morning. All that coming up shortly. First, here's news.
Herald NOW News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
No qualms from the Motor Industry Association at the speed of incoming changes to vehicle taxes. The government wants to switch from the current fuel excise duty to a universal electronic road users charge. No date has been set for the full transition. Association spokesperson Alan Say says the new tech will improve efficiency, and it's important the government gets this right.
We support the Minister's approach in determining the digital platform first before moving on to implementing a timetable for the change.
The latest rise in unemployment will add to the case for at least one more cut to the OCR. Unemployment's reached a 5-year high of 5.2%. ASB senior economist Mark Smith expects the unemployment rate to reach even higher through the rest of this year. He says a 25 basis point cut in 2 weeks is looking increasingly likely.
If the economy remains slow and the labour force continues to soften, we could well see the official cash rate in the year below 3%.
A lack of competition in our grocery sector is sending prices sky high across the country. A Commerce Commission report shows prices are bumping up again this year after appearing to stabilise last year. It highlights that the market is not supportive of new stores and shows major supermarkets continue to wield their power over smaller ones. Consumer NZ CEO John Duffy says there won't be an improvement unless we start to see more competitors enter the market. A push for lawmakers to make access to medicine more of a priority, with signs New Zealanders are worried about it. A new poll reveals 80% of people see modern medicines as important to the health system. Medicine's New Zealand Chief Executive, Dr. Graham Jarvis, says the results are eye-opening, and he says more than half of people believe access is worse here than in countries like the UK, Australia and Canada. Police are renewing appeals to find others involved in a fatal bus stop attack in Auckland's Meadowbank at Easter weekend. American PhD student Kyle Worrell died as a result of a serious assault on St John's Road. A teen's been charged with murder and a 33-year-old woman with being an accessory after the fact. Police say others were in the vehicle involved that night and anyone with information should come forward. The Education Ministry set up a dedicated reporting channel to deal with errors in new maths resources. Those for years 0 to 8 have a total of 18 errors, including incorrect maths solutions, labelling shapes incorrectly, and wrong numbers listed in te reo. The ministry says it's not uncommon for minor errors to be found in the first print run, and it's resolved these and told schools. Its error tracking documents currently 2 pages.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Black Caps captain Tom Latham has again been ruled out of the second cricket test against Zimbabwe with a shoulder injury. The second-tier All Blacks 15 will play the Barbarians in November at the home ground of Brentford Football Club. The NFL is banning the use of smelling salts during games this season, believing the products are not proven to be safe and could mask signs of a concussion. Smelling salts and similar products have become a fixture in the NFL, with many players claiming they can provide a hit of energy or alertness in games.
Herald NOW Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. Today sees a return to more unsettled conditions with a front over the Tasman Sea heading east across the South Island. That trough of low pressure will move north over the North Island tomorrow, but for now just 2 heavy rain watches in place for the headwaters of the Canterbury and Otago lakes and rivers starting at 11 this morning. But there will be rain for the lower south. It spreads to all from this afternoon, with winds turning westerly tonight for Southland. It's dry in the east here, but showers develop out west and in the north this morning. It turns to rain tonight, some showers heavy too. Quite cloudy for Taranaki with showers tonight, a little cloud around everywhere else with northerlies for Wellington and a high of 14 degrees. Cloudy with a few showers for Bay of Plenty and Taupo with nor'easterlies. It is dry for Hawke's Bay with high cloud, but the chance of showers for you in Gisborne. And a few showers again for the upper north, plenty of cloud too with easterlies for most and nor'easterlies for Northland.
You're watching Herald Now, just gone 6 minutes after 8. The target for the first round of the government's $190 million social investment fund have just been announced. Children. In particular, children with families who've got quite complex needs. Andrew Costa is the Secretary for Social Investment, former Police Commissioner, is with us this morning. Andrew, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
We were playing a game of will you have the beard, won't you have the beard? It's good to see you've got the beard.
Just trying to keep up.
Hey, I'm interested to know, I mean, obviously you sort of outlined what the focus will be, but the children that you're specifically wanting to target are those whose parents are currently in prison, children who've experienced the care system or the parents have experienced the care system, and children that are stood down or suspended from school. Do we know how many children in New Zealand fall into that category?
Yeah, we do. So in the first 2 categories, there's about 35,000 children. And in the third category, there's about 12,000 children at any given point in time. So small numbers in the total scheme of things, but we know that the families represented by these children are experiencing many challenges and often generationally. And that's the early opportunity to do something.
Yeah, this is where you can get in early. This is what Bill English used to talk about, and I know that Nicola Willis is dead keen on it too. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. So 35,000 in the first, and then I think you said 10,000 for the first and second, and then 10,000 in the third. Do we have a database with all these kids' names and addresses on it, and how much support they're currently getting?
What we have is the integrated data infrastructure. That is a large anonymised database, and that's how we're able to identify life trajectories and analyse those to work out where we should be investing. In terms of finding these families, we're not going to name them. That's not our job, and we can't do that from the IDI. But there are organisations in the community who are regularly working with these families, and our investment is about enabling them to make a difference.
Because I know I wouldn't expect that their names would be made public, but surely there would be a government agency who had the names of these thousands of children who are most at risk, and then, how do we know who we're helping unless we know who they are?
What you find in communities, and this has been my experience in policing, is that the organisations working locally can tell you who these families are. And of course, their names are known to different government organisations, but the power really is in working in communities, and that's where the fund will identify community organisations that are well placed to support these families.
So how will we know? So we've got the 35,000 kids on the list for boxes 1 and 2. How will we know whether they've moved off that, or whether their needs are being met or not?
The way the fund will work is it invests for outcomes, and the outcomes are focused on the things that the government has been talking about through its targets, through the Child News Strategy. Using the IDI, we are able to see that the services have been delivered to children without naming them, and we can see whether those services are making a difference for those young people and their families. So we build, really good evaluation around this when we contract with the organisations that are working with those families.
Do you know what, if you're a kid who sadly ticks 1, 2 or 3 of these boxes, what your risk of yourself ending up in prison or falling foul of the law is?
We do have all of that analysis, and it depends a little bit which group you're talking about, but what we know is that the young people in these categories will be much more likely to experience the care system, to underachieve educationally, to spend less time in employment, and to ultimately be at greater risk of going into prison. So they're very high risk of bad outcomes, and that's why we want to support early to make a difference for those families across generations.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is no bigger job, not to put the pressure on, Andrew, but there is no more, I don't think, a more important job that you could be doing in New Zealand at the moment. Now, before you go, a quick question about your old Deputy Jevon McSkimming, obviously been in the news lately, appointed to the role while you were Commissioner of Police, now facing charges of possessing objectionable material, including bestiality and child exploitation. How did you feel finding out about that?
Look, obviously it's a really disturbing situation, but as you would know, I can't talk about it while it's in front of the courts. It would be unfair of me to do that. So we need to let those processes take their course.
Did you ever suspect anything? I mean, at least part of the timeline alleged here for the offending covers part of the time that you were working closely with him.
Yeah, look, Ryan, I just can't comment on that. I'm not allowed to do that while it's before the courts.
That's fair. I think a lot of your colleagues have said that they were sort of shocked to find out. Were you guys mates?
I'm just not going to comment at the moment. I'm sorry.
Does it make you uncomfortable seeing him, walking into court?
Again, I just won't comment, Ryan. Of course, it's a really disturbing situation, but I'm not going to go into this until it's been resolved.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate your time this morning. Andrew, thanks so much for being on the show. Andrew Costa, Secretary for Social Investment. Time now 12 minutes after 8. And that means time to talk property, thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. OneRoof and its data partner Velocity have been looking into house price changes over the last 10 years. They found the average house price in New Zealand has grown by almost $400,000 in that period. Growth in Queenstown has been huge, cracking a $2 million average house price, up from a little under $900,000 in 2015. And you can see the post-COVID slump there, particularly hitting Auckland and Wellington hard. Auckland's 10-year growth figure at 38% is the lowest in the country. They've been outpaced by lower value regions like Gisborne and Southland, which saw more than 130% growth. Helen O'Sullivan is the CEO of real estate at Velocity and joins us now. Helen, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Great deep dive on the numbers. Fascinating insights, isn't it?
There's nothing that's quite as much fun as diving into the detail.
What surprised you or didn't surprise you about these results?
Well, I think the most striking thing about those results was really that arc of Queenstown, and pretty much all of the other main centres follow much the same trajectory. They climb and then there's a huge peak sort of post-COVID, then they come back down again. Queenstown comes down a little bit and then just powers on away from the rest of the country.
Just keeps going.
It is its own
Gangbusters.
little microclimate.
It is, isn't it?
In so many ways.
Yeah. Auckland has the lowest percentage in the country. Why? I mean, we always think traditionally Auckland leads and the regions follow, but we're sort of seeing the inverse of that at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you look at this in the percentage terms, that is where it does show the biggest difference. But I think there are some things within the Auckland prices which are kind of masked by the averaging figures that we're using. Within Auckland, you've got to remember over this period, the Auckland Unitary House Plan came into effect. So we start to see a real change in the mix in housing in Auckland. From about the plan came into effect in 2016, took developers a couple of years to get their heads into it and then powered away. This is actually a really good news story in the sense that the Auckland house prices are becoming less unaffordable, I think is probably the term we'd like to use. Largely, or in large part, due to those changes in mix. And that lesson in how we do density well and start to urbanise in a more dense fashion is a really useful lesson, I think, for the rest of our housing markets as they follow the similar trajectories to Auckland's in terms of, you know, a small population squeezed into a geographically intense sort of a place. You know, the infrastructure costs are what really start to drive house prices. You know, and you see it in Queenstown in particular. You know, it's a really constrained region. The infrastructure costs a lot of money to do, even a little bit. And that obviously translates into house prices.
Pushes everything up. And there's good demand, obviously, there too, right?
It is a very popular part of the world, and every time I go there and fall into neutral gazing at those mountains, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. Kawerau, what is going on with Kawerau? So 2015's cheapest town for property, Kawerau, saw its average property value more than treble, jumping 256% from 118 grand to 421,000. Hugely significant. Do we know what the key drivers are there?
Look, I think the key drivers there are in part the fact it's a really small market, and so small changes have a big impact. There won't be a lot of transactions in that area, and so if you start to see again the mix move, then you will see significant lifts. I think it has also been a target, given the really low entry prices. There have been some investor movements into that part of the world as well.
Because this is the thing, the lower or the cheaper the market, then the higher the percentage increase will be, right? Because it's more affordable comparatively.
And that is what you see when you look across all of the regions in terms of the territorial authorities. The dollar gain can be relatively similar, but if you start at 1.5 and get to 1.9, or you start at 400 and get to 900, you know, the return is significantly different.
Helen, you're going to tell us about the Huranui Hotel as well, I understand.
I am.
Please. We've got some footage we're going to show people too.
Yeah, so it's definitely Historic Hotels Month on One Roof, it seems. We've had the Cardrona Hotel with enormous amounts of interest across, international interest. And the Huranui Hotel has actually changed up their offer. So this is actually now available for an operator to take over as a lease, because the owner is really keen to get it reopened and get it thriving. You know, there's a real opportunity. It's a real tourism business. You know, it has a campground, it has a whole bunch of facilities, you know, so there's a real opportunity there, not just to have it as a pub, but to have it, you know, with powered campsites and music and sort of driving a real thriving, but making it a real destination.
Yeah, cool. Do we know what's happening with Cardrona? Is it sold yet? Last I checked,
the timing on it's very close.
Very close, but not quite. No cigar at this point.
We're all waiting.
Yeah, it's a slice of New Zealand.
It really is.
Going to a hotel.
Yep,
I was thinking
100%.
about it yesterday. Would I move there and do that? You know, I was having one of those days. Appreciate you coming on the show, Helen. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Helen O'Sullivan, CEO of Real Estate at Velocity. We talk property every week thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. Don't worry, I'm not going to move to Cadrona. Right, 17 after 8 now. Our panel's here to discuss the big stories of the day next.
Of course, we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
Seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience, just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Welcome back. You're watching Herald Now. Great to have your company. Just gone 20 minutes after 8. Time for our panel of the day. And this morning the lads are here. Dave Latali, BBM Motivation founder, and Stuart Nash, former Labour Minister. Good morning, guys.
Ryan, how are you?
Good to see you both.
Good, bro.
We were just talking about rucks, which we're all going to be paying, in a couple of years' time. And I was asking, were you ever Minister of Transport? And you said it's not the best portfolio to have. Why not?
Didn't want to go near it. I mean, you get a small political hit because you say we're not going to increase ruck or road user charges or excise tax, and people go fantastic and forget about it. What they don't see is it costs millions and millions of dollars to maintain our roads. You've got to have money coming in. So if people have an expectation that our roads are going to be good, but with 5.5 million people, a long, narrow country, with not many stops in between, you need money to repair roads. I'm not against this thing, Ryan, to be honest.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think a tradie who's working really hard and paying 80 cents more at the pump in taxes should necessarily subsidise someone who can afford a fancy
a tosser and a Tesla from Herne Bay.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
What
did
you meant.
Or a cyclist.
What are you
those
going to
lycra-clad terrorists.
Well, cyclists are the other one. They're not paying anything. They're the only road user actually to not be hit with a road user charge. I wonder whether they should get one.
Oh, 100%. They are lycra-clad terrorists. As soon as they put the lycra on, they just change, and they dominate the roads. And unless you're in a race, can you put some shorts over that lycra? I reckon. Can we make that a rule?
Have you ever worn lycra? Can you imagine Ryan in lycra? Okay, you'd be a fluoro lycra guy, wouldn't you?
Sometimes at the traffic lights, it's quite nice to look at the lights.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Charge my 13-year-old son as he rides his bike to school?
No, that's the thing. But because I was asking Garth Bray, who's a cyclist here, if you paid a road user charge and it went towards, it was ring fenced for new cycleways, would you pay it? Because they always want new cycleways.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm not against this either, so long as the money that they're raising is being used on roads and not, giving chairmans or boards more money.
100%.
Yeah.
And what are the cops going to do? I mean, it's not as if these guys aren't busy enough anyway. They're going to pull over the lycra-clad Herne Bay, your words, not mine, guys, and say, hey, I want to have a look at your ruck on your bike.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Grocery prices. I mean, is anyone sick of hearing about this year? And
when are they going to do so? So they keep going on about this, and they paid all this money to keep bringing this up. Can you just do something about it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to keep going on, then do something about it, you know.
Do something or shut up.
Yeah.
Hey.
Just keep going on and on, just whinging. It's like this culture. This is the Commerce Commission. It should be called the Whinging Commission. That's all they do is whinge.
They do, toothless. I mean, they came out and they said New Zealand, this is under our government, of course, because we did a lot of really good stuff. Winston would have done it too. There was I had to get that. There was a report that said that Kiwis are paying about $1 million a week more than they need to due to some form of, I don't know if they call it predatory pricing, but uncompetitive pricing.
Or something, yeah.
Super profit. So, you know, Kiwis are a bit uncomfortable about that, but I agree with you, Dave. I mean, we've gone on with this about long enough. Do something or just shut up.
Yeah. Are you going to run for, speaking of Winston, you're going to run for New Zealand First?
Mate, look.
On the spot.
I haven't, look, Winston and I haven't even had a conversation about this. But what I do say, if I'm honest with you, you know, I live in Napier, I work in Wellington and Auckland or wherever I need to go, and people talk to me about politics. You know, Dave and I were talking about politics, you and I talk about politics. I'm just a provincial, just a guy from the provinces, right? Just a good, hard-working guy from the provinces.
People
are disillusioned with the two main parties. These are people who vote, they engage in politics. They're looking at National and Luxon and Willis, and it doesn't really resonate at all. They look at Labor and they've become an urban liberal party, and they're going, you know, we want something to hold on to. And at the moment, Shane and Winston are the guys that are talking common sense.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I actually have to agree.
Thank you, Dave.
So these other ones just argue amongst themselves.
They do.
So what, are you both going to join New Zealand First?
Well, what do you think, mate? We've good on a ticket.
but you haven't had a chat with Winston yet, but you'd like to.
Oh, no, we're not saying that. I mean, look, Winston's a good friend of mine, and I have an immense amount of respect for the great man, and I've always been clear about that. But, you know, what you're seeing is, you know, you live in Auckland, and you live in Auckland, I live in the regions. Both of us are disenfranchised with the current political model. We're both looking for someone to vote for who's got a vision of where New Zealand wants to be, but in a really pragmatic way. I mean, lizards over economic development, seriously, Jonesy came out and spoke the truth that the vast majority of New Zealanders are thinking.
There is a problem. I've got my parents-in-law staying with us at the moment, and they are very much of the view that we've lost our practical mindset in New Zealand. You know, like old school Kiwi stuff. We just get it done. We interviewed a guy the other day from Auckland Transport, and if you've got a disability permit or a mobility permit, and they can't tell. So when those cameras go past and ping people for parking in the wrong spot, the cameras can't tell it reads your disability. So they're getting tickets every time. I mean, just stuff like that. You think, what country are we? You know, why, how are we
Common
so
sense.
useless?
Well, this week, let's say, I mean, we talk about grocery prices ad nauseum, but I'm a huge fan of education for a whole raft of reasons. I think the education stuff that came out today from the government was absolutely fantastic. Why wasn't that announced at their conference?
Yeah, true. Yeah. Hey, so this is should we call it a watch this space on New Zealand First?
No, look, I enjoy my politics as much as anyone else, and I vote and I care about this country a lot. And I think
you don't want to run?
Well, no, I mean, I'm not saying that, but what I am saying
is... Just be honest.
Just say it.
You know, this is the thing. This is what we need from politics. If you're going to go back, just be honest.
Be honest. Be honest.
If Ryan O or any media person asks you a question, tell her what you feel, what's happening.
Well, I've told you that you know, Winston and Shane are the two that sort of spin my wheels at the moment because it's about pragmatism, and I'm a Kiwi, a good, hard-working Kiwi boy from the regions, and I love political pragmatism.
So you would like to be... You would like to be on the ticket. You'd like to be a part of the New Zealand First.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But all I am saying is they
can't take the politician out of them.
You can't shake it out. Hey, what about unemployment? 4-year high. We know this now. And you know, Nicola Willis. I actually think she got a little bit hard done by in the coverage yesterday of her presser. She made one comment about, you know, the pundits are all a bit doom and gloom, but mostly she accepted it is higher and that's bad and all that sort of stuff. It's just going to take a while to shake this stuff, Dave.
Yeah, it just takes time. I mean, we've got a recruitment company, BB Recruitment, if you're looking for any great workers. But you know, we put one job up and there's hundreds of people applying. It's tough times. We just have to, you know, knuckle down and get through it.
And you know, I'm a commercial director for Robert Walters, saying exactly the same thing. It's tough out there. But you know, it's a little bit rich for the finance minister to come out and say, oh, you know, these guys are doom merchants because unemployment was 0.1% lower than it was forecast. I mean, you know, and you got to keep in mind, Ryan, you remember this, Dave, Luxon stood on the platform at the last election, said, trust me, we know how to run an economy. I ran in New Zealand, I can run the country. Hasn't quite worked out that way.
Yeah.
Chris Luxon is no John Key.
The problem is that we can't, there's no light at, you know, that you can see at the end of any tunnel. It's just darkness.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing to look forward to. And the problem is, the other side's not, you know, Labor, your old mates aren't giving us anything to look forward to either. So I interviewed Greens, Chloe.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
She converted me.
Well, but have you interviewed Shane and Winston?
That's next. I'm trying to hook me up.
Ask Winston and Erica about this tomorrow. See what they have to say.
Yeah, okay. What about you? All right. Hey, good to see you both. Thanks for coming on this morning, guys. Stuart Nash, former Labor Minister, future New Zealand. And David Talley, BBM Motivation founder. Cheers, guys. 28 minutes after 8. New Zealand's supreme wine winner has been crowned for 2025. Viva's annual wine awards are back, and this year, the Prophet's Rock Pinot Gris from Central Otago came out on top. We have a bottle of the top drop right here and the winning winemaker. Paul Pujol is with us on the program. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
I've just been handed the winning bottle. Congratulations. How does it feel?
That was a great surprise yesterday, and obviously we were stoked. We're a small team down here. There's only 7 of us, to be recognised like that was phenomenal.
Tell us about the wine.
Well, like a lot of producers in Central Otago, we focus mostly on Pinot Noir, but the whites have a sort of special place in our hearts. I made a lot of wine back in the day in France, and especially in the region where Pinot Gris is from. So it's always had probably a disproportionate amount of attention for the small amount that we make.
It's quite a sweet, the Pinot Gris is quite a sweet wine, isn't it? Or have I got that round the wrong way? I'm not a connoisseur.
Oh, it can be. A perfect breakfast wine for you, Ryan. So, yeah, it's not as high in acidity as some of the other whites. It's a wine sort of with a lot of texture and body to it. So it's definitely in a dry style, though. So, yeah, it's a really good food wine. Pinot Gris got a lot of texture, and so it's very versatile.
I've just realised it's got a corkscrew on it, which a lot of them these days don't. Why have you stuck with the corkscrew?
I guess it ties back to sort of my winemaking background. Before coming back to New Zealand and Central Otago, I spent most of my sort of early career in France, and the way that we make the wines is quite traditional old methods, and the wines in terms of packaging, bottling, they perform better under cork. So we're one of the few producers down here that are still using corks.
Beautiful, and all hand-picked from your 2 vineyards.
Yeah, that's right. We have 3 small sites, so just our own vineyards, that we farm and make up at the winery, which is on one of the sites.
Is it a big money spinner? I mean, if you've got a smaller or a medium-sized operation, is it obviously there's the lifestyle aspect, which everybody enjoys, and the interest, but is it a house business?
I think, generally in the wine industry in New Zealand, it's tough at all levels. We're a long way from all of our key markets. No one's going to come and find it. And so, you've really got to work hard to get out there, show the wines, engage with the market, whether that's getting around New Zealand and showing the wines to people, or heading overseas and supporting those markets. So, I wouldn't describe the sort of wine industry at any end as like super buoyant. Like we've never had a truck pull up to the winery and someone just get out, take the wine away and hand you a big check, that's for sure.
It's not easy, but it's fun. Paul, appreciate you coming on this morning. Congratulations again on the win.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Paul Pujol with us, Prophet's Rock winemaker, and this is the winning bottle from Viva. Congratulations to them. 28 minutes away from 9 o'clock here on Herald Now. We'll get to news with Neva now.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
No qualms from the Motor Industry Association at the speed of incoming changes to vehicle taxes. The government wants to switch from the current fuel excise duty to a universal electronic road users charge. No date has been set for the full transition. Association spokesperson Alan Say says the new tech will improve efficiency and it's important the government gets this right.
We support the Minister's approach in determining the digital platform first before moving on to implementing a timetable for the change.
The latest rise in unemployment will add to the case for at least one more cut to the OCR. Unemployment's reached a 5-year high of 5.2%. ASB senior economist Mark Smith expects the unemployment rate to reach even higher through the rest of this year. He says a 25 basis point cut in 2 weeks is looking increasingly likely.
If the economy remains slow and the labour force continues to soften, we could well see the official cash rate in the year below 3%.
A lack of competition in our grocery sector sending prices sky high across the country. A Commerce Commission report shows prices are bumping up again this year after appearing to stabilise last year. It highlights that the market is not supportive of new stores and shows major supermarkets continue to wield their power over smaller ones. Consumer NZ CEO John Duffy says there won't be an improvement unless we start to see more competitors enter the market. A push for lawmakers to make access to medicine more of a priority, with signs New Zealanders are worried about it. A new poll reveals 80% of people see modern medicines as important to the health system. Medicines New Zealand Chief Executive Dr Graham Jarvis says the results are eye-opening, and he says more than half of people believe access is worse here than in countries like the UK, Australia and Canada. Police are renewing appeals to find others involved in a fatal bus stop attack in Auckland's Meadowbank at Easter weekend. American PhD student Kyle Worrell died as a result of a serious assault on St John's Road. A teen's been charged with murder and a 33-year-old woman with being an accessory after the fact. Police say others were in the vehicle involved that night and anyone with information should come forward. The Education Ministry set up a dedicated reporting channel to deal with errors in new maths resources. Those for years 0 to 8 have a total of 18 errors, including incorrect math solutions, labelling shapes incorrectly, and wrong numbers listed in te reo. The ministry says it's not uncommon for minor errors to be found in the first print run, and it's resolved these and told schools. Its error tracking documents currently 2 pages.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Black Caps captain Tom Latham has again been ruled out of the second cricket test against Zimbabwe with a shoulder injury. The second-tier All Blacks 15 will play the Barbarians in November at the home ground of Brentford Football Club. The NFL is banning the use of smelling salts during games this season, believing the products are not proven to be safe and could mask signs of a concussion. Smelling salts and similar products have become a fixture in the NFL, with many players claiming they can provide a hit of energy or alertness in games.
Herald NOW Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. Today sees a return to more unsettled conditions with a front over the Tasman Sea heading east across the South Island. That trough of low pressure will move north over the North Island tomorrow, but for now just 2 heavy rain watches in place for the headwaters of the Canterbury and Otago lakes and rivers starting at 11 this morning. But there will be rain for the lower south. It spreads to all from this afternoon with winds turning westerly tonight for Southland. It's dry in the east here, but showers develop out west and in the north this morning. It turns to rain tonight, some showers heavy too. Quite cloudy for Taranaki with showers tonight, a little cloud around everywhere else with northerlies for Wellington and a high of 14 degrees. Cloudy with a few showers for Bay of Plenty and Taupo with nor'easterlies. It is dry for Hawke's Bay with high cloud, but the chance of showers for you in Gisborne. And a few showers again for the upper north, plenty of cloud too with easterlies for most and nor'easterlies for Northland.
23 to 9. Time now to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. India is Donald Trump's latest target. He's doubled their tariffs, at least he plans to shortly, on exports to the United States. This because they are purchasing oil from Russia, and Russia is at war with Ukraine, and that is something that Trump wants to stop. Garth Bray from Business Desk was on the program earlier. I started by asking him when these tariffs will take effect.
And that's from August 27 unless they announce that they will no longer buy their energy, their oil from Russia. And that's probably what this is really about. We're heading towards a weekend. You've had Witkoff over there, meeting with Putin. And it's all about Russia at the moment. So this is part of that game. But it's really fired people up. It's united a lot of people we're hearing around sort of Modi in India at the moment. And it's interesting for New Zealand because we are trying to strike a bilateral free trade agreement with India at the moment. Been a bit quiet on that front since May when they've been bouncing around. I think they signed about 30 odd little agreements while Luxon was over there. And but we have had some defence cooperation up there. Even this week we've had quite a senior Ministry of Defence official up there shaking hands with ministers, reminding them that they've just successfully seized about $1 billion worth of heroin out of the Gulf of Arabia with New Zealand support and Indian officers on board to Kahar and things like that. So, hey, remember us, we're your friends, we want to trade with you. That guy over there wants to smash you with extra tariffs at the end of the month. What do you want to do?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Indians have come out and said, well, you're the ones, as in America, that told us to buy Russian gas at the start of the war.
Yeah, right.
So they're like, well, and we did what you said and now you're going to punish us for it.
And they've got 1.4 billion people that need to be kept warm and businesses that need to be run.
Very dependent on oil, the Indian economy too, eh? Yeah. Now, we keep hearing about the supermarket duopoly. We've spoken to Sue Chetwin about this morning. Another report from the ComCom is one doing better than the other in the duopoly?
Interesting, yeah. Gregor Thompson had a good look at that and found actually below the radar of sort of 82% domination by these two big brands, that actually Woolworths has been losing market share. Looks like Foodies is holding, so Pack and Save is doing better. I think the numbers were something like 27% increase for, dropped to 27% market share for Woolworths over 5 years to 2024 and a rise to 25% share for Pack and Save. And there's a wee chart I'd just like to show you as well. That's the profit margins, and that big bold number you can see there that's dropped right through the floor, that is Woolworths. So at the start of the period, 2019, all of our three major retailers were doing, the three main ones, Foodstuffs North Island, South Island were doing well, Woolworths doing well. Woolworths is now doing poorer than some of the international comparatives like your Walmarts, your Krugers, all those kinds of people.
Interesting. What's behind that?
Labour costs. They've announced that they've had quite a stiff wage bill through that period, and that really hit them. Although in the last quarter, that's outside of those figures, they said that their sales had recovered and lifted. I think what were we up about 4%. And I mean, we've seen the wage and labour figures in the last sort of 24 hours as well. Wage inflation is actually below CPI, price inflation at the moment, so maybe those numbers will turn around.
Yeah. Finally, calls for a capital gains tax from quite an unexpected corner.
Yeah, ANZ Bank senior or chief economist, not from here, from Australia, at the Building Nations conference down in Wellington, basically saying, look, I know you guys don't have a capital gains tax. It's something you should look at really seriously. Intergenerational distribution of where, who can get into the housing market and can't is a huge issue in Australia and New Zealand. He said, you guys have got to start looking at this seriously.
Oh, go back to Australia.
This is the bank that has 30% of our mortgages.
Yeah.
So interesting call, and you had, Antonio Watson, the CEO here, making a similar kind of a call for CGT last year. So quite an interesting play.
Well, every time a banker tells me we should have a capital gains tax, I'm going to tell them we should have a profit windfall tax on their banking profits. That annoys me. Anyway,
rather than a windfall tax on cyclists, right?
Yes. Now this is the most important part of today. So do you bike on cycleways or on the road?
Mostly cycleways if they're available because they're safer, and I don't want to wind up in hospital.
Which is fair. But if we could would you pay a road user charge for riding your bike if that money was ring-fenced solely for cycleway construction?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't get a choice, would you? Because if there's a charge, they're going to tax you, and that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to think. You heard Chris Bissett talking about weight. The weight of a cycle and people using a cycle lane, that's not going to do much damage to it, really. So they're not going to be hammered as hard as people hooning down there in their SUVs.
Yeah, but they're still bloody expensive to build, aren't they?
3,000 of them around, 3,000 k's of them around the country and 83,000 k's of roads. See, I think probably you heard him saying that they're a bit wary about pricing it and working out 20 different categories of weight.
Keep it simple.
because it costs. So it would probably cost you more money to run around clipping little things on cyclists. Mind you, heaps of them are on the old Strava, tracking their performance and posting that. So maybe it wouldn't be that hard to actually.
It would probably be quite easy, actually, now that you mentioned Strava. And we could actually, while we're at it, we could get the runners and the joggers and the walkers too.
People on the scooters first, I reckon. Get them.
Oh, yes.
Get them.
Good point. That was Garth Bray earlier in the program. It's 18 away from 9 now. Coming up next, a new psychological drama set in New Zealand. We meet the director and one of the stars. That's next.
Speaking to the acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of it?
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My Minister of the Union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build with GGs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
After 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Kaiwaka's been in the game for 200 seasons. 50 years of facing up to the elements, getting the job done and coming back for more. And that's guaranteed for a lifetime. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We can also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
Welcome back. You're watching Herald Now. Went Up the Hill is a new psychological and spooky drama set in New Zealand, right here in New Zealand, playing at the New Zealand International Film Festival this month before opening nationwide in October, so you can go and see it in cinemas. The film boasts a star-studded cast featuring Stranger Things actor Dacre Montgomery. Let's take a quick look.
To be able to be here together, Elizabeth survived by her 2 greatest loves, her work and you, her wife, Jill.
How did you know her?
I didn't. Or my son.
I know, it looks spooky, right? Dacre Montgomery is the actor. You might know him from Stranger Things. He's at the desk. Good morning.
Hi.
Also, Samuel van Grinsven is with us, the director of the film. Good morning, Samuel.
Hello.
Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us, what is the vibe? I've, to be honest, haven't seen the movie yet, only had the privilege of seeing the trailer, and I was sufficiently sort of spooked. What is it about?
It's a ghost story. So it's about a young man called Jack, played by Dacre, who returns to remote New Zealand for the funeral of his estranged mother. And on the first night in being in this house, he meets her widow, and over the nights that follow, the 2 of them each get possessed by her ghost. So it's a 3-hander, but told only with 2 actors. So both Dacre and Vicky share the 3rd role of the mother and the ghost.
That sounds like a complicated thing to do.
Well, I think that was really the first draw card in terms of before I saw Samuel's amazing vision and read the script, which is incredible. The pitch very much was 3-handed told by 2 people, which as far as I'm aware doesn't exist in cinema, definitely in theatre, but doesn't exist in movies. And I thought, wow, I mean, that would be such an amazing experience and challenge. And then meeting Vicky Creeps, who's the co-star, and we share Elizabeth together, it very quickly became evident for us that it wasn't about portraying Elizabeth in the same way, because we both very much perceived the movie to be less of a supernatural film and more of a film where 2 people create their antagonizer in themselves to deal with their grief and trauma, which I think exists in all of us who've experienced those kinds of things. And obviously such an interesting narrative device that Samuel and the co-writer Joriana created in terms of, you know, how we can be a reflection of the people that have left a mark on us, and what we choose to do with that and how we deal with it, I think is very interesting. And you said at the time that obviously there was some of that was rooted in a great book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is all about how trauma lives and stays in our bodies.
Because this is based on, or so you're drawing on your own childhood experiences growing up in Canterbury, right? Which is where you've shot most of the film.
Yeah. So I'm from Christchurch, and we ended up finding this amazing house, sort of our haunted house that the film is set in Canterbury High Country, so about an hour and a half out of Christchurch. And it's near Lake Pearson. It's an incredible location. But yeah, I grew up in a bit of a weird way. My parents are ABBA impersonators, so we went up and down New Zealand in the back of a tour van growing up. So for me, my kind of memories of the South Island are very like childlike, wide-eyed, sort of fantastical memories of that landscape, and that's the way I wanted to interpret it in a sort of nursery rhyme sense. Hence, Jack and Jill went up the hill.
And the ghost aspect, where's that come from?
It comes from this idea of I became really fascinated. Like when you do lose someone in real life, those first few days or those first few weeks afterward, you kind of look for them in the people around you, whether that's like someone who has the same laugh, someone who has like a similar, if it's a family member, similar complexion or similar kind of habits. And I kind of took that idea from, you know, my own experiences of grief, and then was like, well, what if someone was able to come back and you were able to create that person with someone else?
Yeah, very cool. Dacre, did you draw at all on Stranger Things? Obviously, quite a supernatural thing going on there too.
Yeah. I think, look, for me, the brilliant thing about this movie was it's so much closer to myself than the character I play in Stranger Things. I'd never played a character with my accent before, so that even in itself was quite revealing and made me feel quite vulnerable, because I'm not putting on a whole lot of different masks and accents and outfits and all of these sort of layers.
Did that take a while to kind of unpack all of that? Because that's probably built into your process, I would imagine.
Yeah, and for me, you know, half my family's from New Zealand. It was really nice after the production to come and revisit with family that I hadn't seen in years. So that was part of shedding the experience in the character. But I felt like I really held my breath for a year and a half after we wrapped until Toronto Film Festival, where we premiered the film. So I didn't work for a whole year and a half after we wrapped, because I was like, I just need to see this film before I can do anything else. And then about 3 weeks after Toronto, I started work on my next film. And so yeah, it was really a 2.5 year process all in. We were chatting for a year in the lead up, and then shot the movie, and then another year and a half. And this has been a very big, important part of my adult life, and also figuring out who I am. There's so much of Samuel in this film, and so much of Vicky and myself, that when we would be in a scene performing, Samuel's right behind the camera, but he's feeling the same things. He's right there with us.
Quite intense.
Yeah, it's extremely intense. Yeah.
With the Stranger Things, do you get recognised wherever you go? People, it's this huge phenomenon. People absolutely froth over it.
It's pretty chill in Australia and New Zealand. People really respect your privacy.
Yeah.
It's different culturally to the US. People are more interested in having a discussion or coming up and taking a photo or whatever. I live in Australia, so I live a pretty chill lifestyle. Yeah.
The easier option than doing it in LA.
Yes, totally. Yeah. 100%.
Hey guys, thanks so much for coming in today and talking about the film. We're very excited to see it. So it's at the New Zealand International Film Festival.
Yep. And across the country.
Across the country, and then fully in cinemas October.
October, yes, that's right.
Fantastic. Looking forward to see it.
Thanks for
seeing it, guys. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Great to see you, and great to meet you as well. That is Dacre Montgomery, who's the actor in the film, who you'll know from Stranger Things, of course. Samuel Van Grisven, director, whose childhood growing up in the South Island inspired this film, and you can see this in cinemas from October. Or at the International Film Festival, as we've said. Up next, will Trump's tariffs spark a rethink from New Zealand on how we're dealing with the United States and Washington? That's next.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Oh, well, If we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz. Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
G'day, welcome back. 7 away from 8 now, 9 rather, on Herald Now. Could Trump's tariffs force New Zealand to rethink its trade diversity? This is what Chelsea Daniels, host of the Front Page podcast, is diving into today. And she's with us now. Hey, Chelsea.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, what is it? When you mean our strategy of basically trying to put all our eggs in lots of baskets?
Yeah, exactly. So I spoke to University of Auckland Emeritus Professor of Law, Jane Kelsey. She's got a keen interest in our economic situation and our trade policies, and basically having a look at how we trade and why things like COVID, things like Trump's tariffs has us immediately scared, and rightly so, because we have a pretty basic export commodity model. She said. So with these recent events, we should serve as a wake-up call, really, to see how we can diversify. And it's not just diversifying into different markets either. I know that the government's looking into India, obviously, Southeast Asian markets as well, but it's also looking at home. She said that there's a couple examples that stood out to her. She mentioned seeing, for example, a large producer that uses a lot of energy importing products that they're using from Vietnam, for example, when the products that they use are onshore. And there's a total reliance on overseas big tech operators, for example, running our server farms. So that's something that could be done here. So not only diversifying our export market internationally, but domestically as well. She said that we have quite the aversion to thinking about things differently and keeping things onshore.
Did you watch Stranger Things? Did you know J.K. Montgomery, the guy we just had in here, the actor?
Yeah, I knew that, because whenever an Australian does something, and New Zealanders are similar, when there's an Australian or a New Zealander in an big overseas show, everyone knows about it back home as well. Because I was just at my computer just chipping away on trade policies, and I looked up and I was like, oh, familiar.
Yeah. Very cool, isn't it? And a new Kiwi film that we can go and watch, which is great.
It looks good, doesn't it?
Does look good. Look good. Chelsea, thank you. Look forward to today's podcast. Chelsea Daniels, Front Page Podcast with you. Of course, you can listen to Chelsea's podcast wherever you like to listen to good podcasts. 4 minutes. iHeartRadio is a good place to do it. 4 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Let's take a look ahead at news developing today. Katie Oliver's here, Herald Now. Katie, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, there's been a stoush over an iconic Auckland cafe operating without a licence.
Yes, so Rupert's Cafe, it's an iconic spot. They were threatened with closure over their unpaid bills, now nearly $1 million worth of unpaid rates bills. Now, that same store is now being investigated for allegedly trading without a licence. Now, one of our Herald reporters went in and had a look, got a coffee, and noticed on Friday that there were 6 other customers there, and they were all eating food and ordering coffees, and they're just trading as if nothing's going on. Now, we are expecting an update on that story coming out at 10 a.m, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Very
Okay,
tricky.
we'll keep an eye on that one. Thank you. And also this morning, there's been a string of fatal crashes on this stretch of State Highway 1. What stretch are we talking about?
So this is a Taihape School and Marae, which are calling for action over the State Highway 1. Now, there's been 22 crashes on this particular stretch of road between 2014 and 2023, according to the State Highway Road Safety Report. Now, in May this year, there was a scene of a serious multiple vehicle collision that closed this specific road for several hours, and it has a 100-kilometre limit. Now, they want NZTA to take action and to place a speed restriction in the area and to sort out repairs. Now, this is just south of Winiata Marae into Taihape, and so they're seeking action on that one there.
All right.
You can read more on that on the Whanganui Chronicle.
Excellent. Katie, thank you. Katie Oliver from the Herald. 2 minutes to 9. Mixed martial arts news now. This is, as you do, for a Thursday morning. This is concerning the public discussion around MMA fighter Dan the Hangman Hooker and his so-called 1-minute scraps. Take a look.
The division is going to be 100 kilo max. Lads, convicts only need apply. 10 seconds.
Yeah, so it's convicts only, which has upset some people. The New Zealand Mixed Martial Arts Federation has confirmed it has investigated these events. In a statement, it said, "We have been in contact with the relevant parties to discuss whether appropriate safeguards are in place, including the presence of qualified officials, experienced medical personnel and adherence to minimum safety standards. They are using gloves, as you can see. These events are not underground or unregulated, but are operating within the existing legislative framework," they say, for combat sports in Aotearoa. "We understand that formats like this may raise public and media questions, and we welcome that." Look, my view is it's not pretty to look at, but if there's nothing wrong or illegal about it, then who cares? If you want to go punch each other in the backyard, that's your business. Here's news.
Herald NOW News, powered by News Talk ZB.
No qualms from the Motor Industry Association at the speed of incoming changes to vehicle taxes. The government wants to switch from the current fuel excise duty to a universal electronic road users charge. No date has been set for the full transition. Association spokesperson Alan Say says the new tech will improve efficiency and it's important the government gets this right.
We support the Minister's approach in determining the digital platform first before moving on to implementing a timetable for the change.
The latest rise in unemployment will add to the case for at least one more cut to the OCR. Unemployment's reached a 5-year high of 5.2%. ASB senior economist Mark Smith expects the unemployment rate to reach even higher through the rest of this year. He says a 25 basis point cut in 2 weeks is looking increasingly likely.
If the economy remains slow and the labour force continues to soften, we could well see the official cash rate in the year below 3%.
A lack of competition in our grocery sector sending prices sky high across the country. A Commerce Commission report shows prices are bumping up again this year after appearing to stabilise last year. It highlights that the market is not supportive of new stores and shows major supermarkets continue to wield their power over smaller ones. Consumer NZ CEO John Duffy says there won't be an improvement unless we start to see more competitors enter the market. A push for lawmakers to make access to medicine more of a priority, with signs New Zealanders are worried about it. A new poll reveals 80% of people see modern medicines as important to the health system. Medicines New Zealand Chief Executive Dr Graham Jarvis says the results are eye-opening, and he says more than half of people believe access is worse here than in countries like the UK, Australia and Canada. Police are renewing appeals to find others involved in a fatal bus stop attack in Auckland's Meadowbank at Easter weekend. American PhD student Kyle Worrell died as a result of a serious assault on St John's Road. A teen's been charged with murder and a 33-year-old woman with being an accessory after the fact. Police say others were in the vehicle involved that night and anyone with information should come forward. The Education Ministry set up a dedicated reporting channel to deal with errors in new maths resources. Those for years 0 to 8 have a total of 18 errors, including incorrect math solutions, labelling shapes incorrectly, and wrong numbers listed in te reo. The ministry says it's not uncommon for minor errors to be found in the first print run, and it's resolved these and told schools. Its error tracking documents currently 2 pages.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Black Caps captain Tom Latham has again been ruled out of the second cricket test against Zimbabwe with a shoulder injury. The second-tier All Blacks 15 will play the Barbarians in November at the home ground of Brentford Football Club. The NFL is banning the use of smelling salts during games this season, believing the products are not proven to be safe and could mask signs of a concussion. Smelling salts and similar products have become a fixture in the NFL, with many players claiming they can provide a hit of energy or alertness in games.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. Today sees a return to more unsettled conditions with a front over the Tasman Sea heading east across the South Island. That trough of low pressure will move north over the North Island tomorrow, but for now just 2 heavy rain watches in place for the headwaters of the Canterbury and Otago lakes and rivers starting at 11 this morning. But there will be rain for the lower south. It spreads to all from this afternoon with winds turning westerly tonight for Southland. It's dry in the east here, but showers develop out west and in the north this morning. It turns to rain tonight, some showers heavy too. Quite cloudy for Taranaki with showers tonight, a little cloud around everywhere else with northerlies for Wellington and a high of 14 degrees. Cloudy with a few showers for Bay of Plenty and Taupo with nor'easterlies. It is dry for Hawke's Bay with high cloud, but the chance of showers for you in Gisborne. And a few showers again for the upper north, plenty of cloud too with easterlies for most and nor'easterlies for Northland.
Thanks, Heather. And that's it for us for today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow from 7 o'clock as always. For more news in the meantime, head to nzherald.co.nz. A quick thank you to our partners, Forsyth Bar, You Do It, Barker's, Max 2 Degrees, GJ Gardner, Dilmar, and of course Noel Leeming. Until tomorrow, have a great day.